You're watching Cable 2.
Good afternoon. I'd like to call this meeting of the Curriculum Committee to order. And I would like to just remind the members of the Curriculum Committee are myself, Shay Woodbury, Elizabeth Mottsinger, Leah Crowley, and Andrea Bramer. I think we have 3 of us here, so I think we got a quorum, correct? Yes. All right, we don't have anything to vote on, so that's good. So, 2 discussion items. First one. Comprehensive Supports in Secondary ELA, Melissa Agee.
So good afternoon, Chair Kaplan, board members, Superintendent McManus. I'm here just to provide a quick update on what we're doing in secondary ELA in terms of support for the teachers and the students. I know we hear a lot about elementary, so I appreciate the opportunity to talk about secondary for a little while as well. So what we did at the beginning of the year is looking at the data, identify major barriers with reading comprehension in grades 6 through 12. And those barriers you'll see up here, 4 of them anyway, are prior knowledge, vocabulary, the use of complex text in all grade levels regardless of the level of class, and analyzing text structure and syntactical features. So if you look at whether it's iReady data, check-in data, EOC data for English 2, those are 4 areas that we know many of our students struggle with. So with those in mind, we came up with a plan to address each of those 4 barriers. So the first you see there, prior knowledge, incorporating more of these complex texts that also address topics that a lot of our students have not been exposed to, provides them some of that information. We know that in reading comprehension, probably the most effective way to improve comprehension is to increase the complexity of text that students are exposed to. So that kind of serves a dual purpose. If you look at any of our data or you walk in an ELA classroom, you will immediately see that vocabulary is an issue. We often see a list of words on Monday and a quiz on Friday, but they are not related to the context of what is going on. So we have specifically addressed vocabulary with the implementation of Greek and Latin roots, and I'll talk more about that in just a moment. Talked a bit about the use of complex text. So these are grade level text. Even though we know we have students who do not read on grade level, if we continue to instruct them at the reading level that they're currently at, they will not grow. And so we have pushed the use of complex text through our textbook adoption of HMH. And then last, the text structure and syntactical features. Not only the texts that are within HMH, but we've provided enrichment and extension activities that go beyond just the text that we suggest on our UPOs. Students are doing research. We know that our students struggle with nonfiction text, so that research provides an opportunity to talk about the text structure of nonfiction, the syntactical features, which are often much more complex than we see in, say, a short story. And so those are some of the supports that we have put in, and I'll talk about the PD that addresses those as well. So this is just an example of one of our English UPOs. This is for English 1. And so each of those barriers you can see here, all of our units start with what we call a mentor text. This is a grade level text, and for many of our struggling readers, it is a difficult text. We have provided extensive PD for our teachers on how to model. This is not a read and answer questions for the students. This is the teacher is actually modeling how to read. And for many of our secondary teachers, that is a difficult task because they are used to being content teachers. And so we're going back and telling them what is natural for you is not natural for your students. So we're doing things like we are thinking aloud for the kids. They are listening to us read fluently. They are listening to us pick out vocabulary. How am I figuring out what that word means? And so each unit should start with a very difficult text that the teacher is in front of the class modeling how to attack. Many of our students sit down on, say, an EOG or an EOC, and they see long passages, and they give up before they're finished halfway through. We talk about stamina. We give them opportunities to listen to the teacher, watch the teacher, and then practice with scaffolding in place. Without assessment, the students have to have that opportunity to practice. So we have preached quality of instruction rather than quantity. It does not matter if you don't read 10 short stories. If you don't teach them how to read one short story, it does not matter. So that has been a big focus. You'll also see that every unit is full of a variety of genres. So we do not do genre-based, so a short story, a poetry unit, because we want to teach students how to read all genres. We also want to see them make connections between those different genres. And so each of our units is thematically based. So students are looking at those themes across all genres. And then the last is the enrichment and extension. Research opportunities, these often give students choice. So they feel like they can choose something they're interested in. This helps us to do more independent reading. Students need a lot of practice with that. And then also they feel like they have some, stake in the game. I can actually research and present on what I'm interested in. So that is just one example. Each of our grade levels, 6 through 12, has a UPO that looks very similar to this. The links that you see here, the PD that I'll talk about last, every month when we have a PD, we give them 2 strategies to try. And as we ask them to try those, we go back into the UPOs. We develop those strategies with some of the text and put them in there so that teachers can see how to implement those. We also have put in, as I mentioned, grade level root words. So grades 6 through 12 have anywhere from 25 to 35 root words to teach throughout the course. We have identified those root words in every suggested text that we read. And so the teachers don't have to go search. We just ask to make sure that they incorporate those. We know that students do not do well memorizing. A lot of times you will hear a teacher say, use the context to figure out what the word means. But if the student can't read the context, he can't figure out what the word means. If we teach students to break words apart, then the student has a chance to figure out the meaning of that word. So we have them for 6 through 12. Fortunately, the other content areas are chipping in. They are also identifying root words that are relevant to their units for each grade level as well. So I say a lot, reading is not an English subject. Reading is a life subject, and every content area, I'm very thankful to say, has joined in with this. We also have several schools who are successfully using a program called MemBean. It is a supplement to root words. It goes deep into 2 or 3 root words within a couple of weeks. And so we're looking at how that success follows and possibly a district subscription to that. So it is a different approach to vocabulary rather than the list. It is the skill behind the actual vocabulary. Each month, our teachers attend a PD in lieu of a PLT, and in that PD, we focus on these 2 books, When Kids Can't Read, What Teachers Can Do, and also Forged by Reading, The Power of Literacy and Why Literacy is Important for Every Aspect of Life, and then When Kids Can't Read is the practical approach. As a secondary teacher, what can I do? If I do not know how to teach phonics or phonemic awareness, what can I do with these students? So as I said, we give them 2 or 3 strategies, show them examples, put them in the UPOs, and ask them to try one and come back and tell us how it went. Those who are delving in and trying seem amazed that some of these are working for them. On March 4th, we are excited that the authors of these books will be here to meet with our teachers. So they're going to delve into 3 of the strategies within the book, show them how to use them, and help them with some lesson designing. So that is our plan for the year. It does focus around those 4 barriers at the beginning of the presentation and specific strategies to address those. We know our secondary ELA teachers are not reading teachers or not trained, and so we're trying to give them as much background in that they can realistically put into their courses. Questions?
Any questions, Dave? This would be.
Thank you. Thank you for the comprehensive report of where we are with secondary ELA. The question I would have, do we sort of have an account of our high school students that we are concerned with basic literacy?
So we do. In high school, for 9th, 11th, and 12th, our HMH textbook offers what's called a growth measure, and the students take it twice since we're on a semester system. They take it twice. It identifies a grade level at which the student reads and specific skills that the students are lacking. And then it gives the resources within the HMH textbook that are recommended for interventions for those students. We don't do it in 10th grade because we have the benchmark in the 10th grade, but for 9th, 11th, and 12th we do. And they take it at the beginning. We talk about building instruction around those. We are working hard on small group instruction, not group work, but small group instruction. And then they take it again, and a lot of our students, that reading level increases significantly. The use of those more challenging texts, I think, has proved more useful than almost any other strategy we've implemented.
I guess my next point would be to ask the superintendent if we could get some data on where our 9th, 11th, and 12th grade reading issues are. So if we have 9th graders reading at a 7th grade level, it really helps, I think, to understand why we're seeing biology scores the way they are and those kinds of things.
I can pull that from the growth measure for the district.
Great, thank you.
Principals have access to it as well for their own schools. We can definitely do that.
It would also be nice to know where it's concentrated. So where the need is most concentrated, I think would be really good to see, because we kind of hear that sometimes, but it would just be good to have that. And then just a point of clarification. So a UPO is a unit planning organizer. Is that what that stands for? Okay, I just want to make sure I remembered correctly. Thank you.
You're welcome. Sorry, I use that acronym a lot, so.
And what about middle school?
So middle school, of course, they use the iReady.
Right.
And we also have North Carolina check-ins. And so from our first check-ins, to me, they are more useful because they're standards-based. And we have identified the standards, so they test on language concepts, literature, and informational text. Informational texts across the board are the lowest. Literature is a little bit higher, but we saw a decline in our first check-in on language concepts. So figurative language, not identifying, but impact of figurative language, those higher level concepts. Right. And so fortunately for ELA, our standards are cyclical, so we are not a one and done. So there is plenty of opportunity if the teachers will look at that data to go back and re-engage the students in that learning.
And do you have a sense of what percentage of children are, and again, maybe you might be 1 or 2, if you can read at a 7th grade level, you can function in the world. If you can't read at a 3rd grade level, you can't function at all. And I'm wondering about how many kids actually sort of somehow muddle along without really being able to read very
at that
well.
7th grade level. So I don't know that number offhand, but I can pull it from iReady.
And one of my concerns would be, say, if at middle school we found, there's some kids, could we have literacy coaches for middle school kids just so that they're not getting lost? Because obviously if you can't read and keep up, then school is a place you're going to tune out of. And
yes, in all content areas.
In all content areas, and I think there's a lot of embarrassment once you're hitting teenage years. If you can't read, you're not likely to say out loud to somebody. You're more likely to act out.
Yes, absolutely.
And so I think the earlier we can pick up.
And we did notice this year that our 6th grade NC check-ins dropped. And so the 6th grade teachers are working hard on some of these strategies. Most of them were trained in the qualitative reading inventory, which is an inventory that really addresses why a kid can't read. So it's
Okay.
not a grade level, it's a why can't Melissa,
Where's the
can she
problem?
not decode? Does she not know her phonemes? Why? What is the problem?
Okay, excellent.
And so that's our focus with them.
Good, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
To kind of piggyback on Elizabeth's questions, so do we still have opportunities for those students who are really, really behind whenever they enter middle school or even high school? I know there used to be a certain, one of their encores might be that it was more of a remedial type of class. Do we still offer that? Are we still doing that?
So some of the schools have the Reading Foundations class, but most of the schools have implemented some kind of either intervention or enrichment period during the day where students are being pulled out to address their specific needs. The other thing we have is the MTSS coordinators, who I have shared specific strategies with. So if I am struggling in a class and you need to pull me out, they have specific resources to pull. So if I'm struggling with summary, they have resources to use. I don't know how often they get to pull out from classes, but they have a lot of resources that would be beneficial to these students who are struggling.
And can that be implemented 6 through 12, or is that mainly at a middle school level?
No, that is 6 through 12.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Okay, great.
I think the focus in high school is probably 9 and 10 because of that EOC in 10th grade.
Right.
But it is 6 through 12.
Good. And that might be interesting sometime too, to find out how much we're utilizing that, because I think that's, it's very important, because, you know, if they don't feel that support. I also think that gives those students, once they know why they're not a reader,
Yes.
that they know where to target, as well as it frees them up a little bit to say, you know, I don't know how to decode. I can't do that well, so it may take me a minute to read this. I mean, I think it gives them
Yes.
some freedom and some understanding.
And on the opposite side of that, when we did the QRI, what we discovered is sometimes a student on iReady will read and come in at a 3rd grade level, but when I read one-on-one with him, he really does not have the reading struggle that he does when it's independent on a computer.
Right.
And so that one-on-one interaction is significant
Yeah, very
the
important.
older those students get, because they figured out how to get on iReady and look busy.
Yes.
Yes,
We learn our different strategies.
we
there.
do.
All right, any other questions? All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. And then our second discussion item is the RISE Summer Camp. Cheryl Wright? Is it you, Nicolette, instead of Cheryl? I don't see her.
Cheryl is actually facilitating an NAL competition, so I'm going to stand in for Cheryl this evening. Good evening, board members and Ms. McManus. Just a quick overview. We are getting ready for our summer camps to be announced, and we are really excited about the offerings we're going to have for students. So starting next month, there'll be communications that will go out to families about the offerings that we have. It will be the month of July, so July 5th, which starts on a Tuesday, the day after the 4th of July, through July 28th. We will again focus on reading, math, science, hands-on learning, inquiry learning. We'll have the arts. Our media centers will be open at the sites, as well as maker spaces. And we'll also be adding our robotics and coding to our summer program this year, so we're excited about that. Marty Creech and Sarah Ryan, who are our new coding specialists, will be working on that. And then we also have a couple of new camps based on that the state provided us funding for. So CTE will have a career exploration camp where students get a chance to go visit local businesses, and they will also have career pathways. And then our advanced learning department will be putting on our not summer enrichment, that's the arts. They will have our summer accelerator program, and those will be week-long camps, and those are really fun, and those will be around the themes of ecosystems, CSI, yucky science, bioengineering, and artificial intelligence. So the advanced learning team will be putting on those week-long camps that students can sign up for 1 week, 2 weeks, as many as they want. We'll also have our traditional RISE camp where we're incorporating a lot of really fun activities. And then we'll have our career accelerator camps. So starting next month, students will see the applications, families will see the applications, as well as our teachers. Teachers will be communicating a signing bonus for camp, as well as a retention bonus at the end of camp. So more information will be coming next month, but we just wanted to kind of put the dates out there so families will know that there'll be applications available for our students for summer learning. Okay, thank you.
Any questions for Ms. Grant? Yes.
Yes. Could you tell me, what is the cost for that, for the kids?
Our summer camps are free for students. The only camp that's a cost is the Summer Enrichment Arts Camp that starts in June. All other camps are free. They include transportation as well as meals. And then also this year, Cheryl has really worked closely with our after-school care providers so that we have wraparound care for before-school and after-school care for families. So we're just solidifying our final locations, and then we'll be able to send out all of that information in March. Yes.
Is there any mechanism for somebody who really can't afford summer enrichment camp? But
Yes. Yes, last year we offered some scholarships to a few students, and so we will also have a few scholarships as well for the summer enrichment.
Okay, and will people apply to those? or-
Yes, Brad Oliver and Andrew Kraft are coordinating that with specifically our Inspire camps.
Okay, just want to make sure that goes out with the information.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ms. Kaplan?
Could the ESSER funds be used this year and perhaps next for that, for the summer enrichment?
We did use some last year to supplement the students that we offered the scholarships to for the summer enrichment, so yes.
Okay.
Do we get that out to businesses? Because, I've never been approached to, be a part of this, and I think there are a lot of businesses that would probably be very interested in.
So for the career pathways and the career exploration, Bruce Sherman and his team are reaching out to businesses and setting up week-long site visits where kids will go out into the community. Part of that grant that was provided by the state requires us to work with our business partners, and so our students will have that opportunity to go and visit sites and learn about industries in our area.
Right, thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions for Ms. Grant? All right, great.
Okay,
Thank you very much, appreciate it. Exciting stuff. All right, under announcements, our next curriculum committee meeting will be March 22nd at 4:30. And that will adjourn the curriculum committee, and I think finance is next.
We don't have a action, oh, yes, we do have an action item. The members of Finance Committee are myself, Leah Crowley, Lyda Calvert-Hayes, Dana Caudill-Jones, and Alex Bohannon. And Ms. Gillis will be reviewing a budget resolution.
Good evening. So, I know it's late, but better late than never. We finally have our budget ready to adopt. As you know, the state budget was adopted back in late November. We got our allotments from the state starting in December. We have to wait for our individual allotments so we'll know what we individually got from the state. And we're still getting some of them as we speak, but I wanted to go ahead and to adopt our budget now because we're getting ready to start next year's budget. I got to start working on that one soon because I got to get that to you by April. So I'm going to review the items in our budget. There's not going to be really any surprises here because most of the things that are related to the budget were related to salaries, and we all know what happened with the salaries, and what the state provided for salary increases, and all the bonuses that came along with the state budget as well. So, our 21-22 proposed budget that I'm presenting tonight for adoption consists of a state current expense of $377.9 million, federal grants of $291.5 million, local current expense fund of $155 million, a fund balance appropriation of $7.5, and I have a breakdown of that later on. This is what you've already approved for fund balance for the year. And then our other restricted slash special revenue fund of $18.9 million for a total operating budget of $851 million, which is the highest it's ever been. Due to the fact that we have all the federal funds. The majority of it is because of the federal funds that we have. Yes, sir. So the capital outlay was $3.9 million or $4 million, which is consistent with what it was last year. The bond proceeds are $141.6 million. Most of this is carryover from the prior year. And then we have a child nutrition budget of $27.3 million for a total proposed budget, including operating and capital outlay in child nutrition, of $1,023.9 million, which is the highest it's ever been. So we've reached the $1 billion budget, y'all. Okay.
Oh,
Right. Well, this is temporary though, because we know we got $200 and something million worth of ESSER funds sitting in there, so.
right.
So this is a comparison of what the proposed budget is now versus the budget request back in April. So as you can see, the state budget went up a little bit because we got a salary increase and the benefits went up. And we got extra money for bonuses. The federal grants went up, went up more because we got ESSER funds, and there are small ESSER pots that we've been getting in outside of the big bucket. We got individual little small ESSER grants for individual type programs. And it also includes carryover from other federal grants that we already had. The local current expense for the county appropriation was $153.9 million. Now that is above what we requested, only because if you look at the asterisk, we received the $6.5 million in one-time funds related to last year's Article 46 revenue, in addition to 3.3 in one-time funds from other, our regular appropriation from last year that they gave us in one-time funds. So that's why our number is higher than what we requested, because actually when we first got our notification of our adopted budget from the county, it was lower than what we requested. But because we got this one-time money, our adopted budget is going to be a little higher. The $3.3 million is supposed to be included in our base budget for next year. And if you recall, the $6.5 million was what we used to pay the teacher bonuses for holiday and spring. So let's look at some state budget highlights. The state budget includes an average increase of 2.5%, including the step increase for certified staff. That includes teachers, support staff, and assistant principals. And support staff could mean anybody on a certified pay scale, such as social workers, counselors, facilitators, nurses, people like that. And then they're also included in the state budget was the psychologists, SLPs, and audiologists received an additional $350 per month, and school counselors received an additional $100 per month in their base pay. So they're on a different salary table than our other certified staff. Classified and central office staff received the greater of $13 an hour minimum, or a 2.5% increase. The retirement rate for 21-22 increased to 22.89%. It's a 6% increase over last year's retirement rate of 21.68. The health insurance premiums increased to $7,019 annually per person. That is an 11% increase over last year. So COVID had a significant impact on the insurance premiums this year, because we projected maybe a 3 to 5% increase, and it wound up being 11. And this is probably the biggest jump we've had in health insurance in a while. So now we're paying $7,000 per person for health insurance. And then the state also included a bunch of different bonuses for staffing at all levels, which we've already talked about in previous meetings and we've already dispersed. So the county budget highlights are as follows. The county budget appropriated $17.6 million in Article 46 sales tax revenue for 21-22, which is a $6.5 million increase above the $11.1 we received in 2021. $1.1 million of that revenue will have to be allocated to charter schools. The remaining $5.4 was funded the local teacher supplement increase for 21-22. The initial county budget appropriation for 22 was $4 million less than requested. However, in the fall, like I said before, we received the $3.3 million in one-time prior year revenue allocations that added to the next year's next fiscal year, and we also got the 6.5 in one-time money from the prior year Article 46 sales tax revenue that funded the $700 bonus for teachers in the fall, during the holidays in the spring. So here's a detailed breakdown of a walkthrough of our budget from last year to this year on the county side. So we started out with our base budget of 132.7 million. Last year, we got an additional 2.9 during the year, so that gave us a base budget of 135.6 million. And then if you go down to this investing our employee section, I've included the local costs for the 2.5% increase for certified staff and school admin, the cost for the $13 hour minimum, and the 2.5% increase for all other staff, the insurance, health insurance increase for our locally funded staff, the retirement rate increase for our locally funded staff, for a total of $2.6 million in total required salary and benefits changes. And then we have our local supplement increase, which the 2.2 that we added on above the sales tax revenue to give teachers a bigger raise. And then the one-time funding of the $6 million for certified, the one-time funding for the $700 bonus that we paid out in the fall and the spring. That's the one-time money of $6 million. Part of that had to be carved out for the charter schools, so that's why it doesn't tie to the amount that we got. And then the Article 46 sales tax revenue increase was 5.4 million. That was the same as it was in the proposed budget. And as far as sustaining operations, we allocated $327,000 to open the new Louisville Middle and Virtual Academy. We had a utility rate increase of $72,719, and then the charter school increase was $1.2 million. The total proposed operating budget is $153.6 million, which is a $17.9 million increase over the prior year.
Any questions? Ms. Kaplan?
I'm still, you want to wait till I'm done? I'm sorry. I do have a couple more slides. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
So fund balance appropriation, this is the fund page. So this is the breakdown of what we've already approved. This is the original fund balance appropriation that we did earlier in the year. We appropriated $7 million, and we had $600,000 for pre-K funds, 1.2 for athletic fields, 1.24 for the ERP system, $1 million for the facility audit, and $3 million for bonuses. So we adjusted that in the board meeting, I think it was earlier this month, to increase the athletic fields by $806,000. But $350 of that is coming from the facility audit savings. So we've increased our adjustment for the fund balance was $456. So now we have $7.5 million in fund balance appropriated. And that brings our fund balance down to like $6.5 million, our current fund balance. The good news is we've been talking to the state about our ERP system, and we're thinking that we're pretty confident we'll get most of that money back from the state, so we will not have to use the full $1.2 million out of fund balance for our ERP system. So that will fall back into fund balance. Now, questions?
I'm just curious, how does, the health insurance rate increase, I think you said it was 11%. How does that compare with the increases of years past, like the last 3 years?
Really a lot higher. I used the 3-year average in my proposed budget. I think I had a 3-year. Last year it went up $20. That was it. So from 20 to 21 it went up $20. This year it went up $700 and something.
Yeah, that's just a lot.
It's a lot, and I think it's because of everything's higher now. We're in a high inflation time right now, and because of COVID, healthcare costs have risen. So I think that's a reflection of the COVID pandemic.
Thanks.
Question related to that, if an employee carries family members on there too, their cost for their family went up as well for them?
I do believe it did. I'll have to double check on that, but I do believe the cost went up all around. So if they are having family, I think that would also increase.
Okay, I mean typically.
It did not increase for the employees that are just on employee-only plans.
Okay.
Because it depends on if you're a smoker or non-smoker, but if you're, like the plan I'm on is, non-smoker, 80/20 is $50. So if you're on that plan, those amounts did not change, the amount that we have to pay out of pocket for the individual employee. I do think that because of the raise in the cost for the annual, that it is probably the people who have family plans, I think it may have gone up for them as well. But I can double check that, just make sure.
Yeah, because I mean, that's kind of a hit on them from their paycheck. So it'd be interesting to know that. Thank you.
All right, so I'm going to pull up one more document. This is the actual document that you have to approve tonight, and that is our budget ordinance. And the numbers tied to this spreadsheet, so I wanted to go through that as well, but this is the budget ordinance that will have to be approved tonight. It's the, go back up, resolution. There you go. So I'm not going to go over every single line item of this because it's like 8 pages long, but I'm just going to go over these are the individual purpose codes by which we adopt our budget. And then once the budget's adopted, any budget amendments that are changes to any of these purpose codes within funds, those will be the budget amendments that come forward to the board for approval. So this first section is for the local current expense fund of $155.2 million. Those are the expenses. The revenue is broken down between county appropriation of 153.6 and 1.6 in other revenues. The next section is the breakdown by purpose code of our state funds. And we just have one funding source, that's the state public fund and revenue sources for that one, $377.9 million. The next section is federal grants. And these are the purpose codes, it's $291.5 million. And here I broke it down by the different grants that we have. So these are all the grants, and as you can see, these first few, till you get down to where it says CARES Act, those are the ones we normally get. Then you get the CARES Act, and these are the ones that are all ESSER related. These are all the different COVID grants that we have. So as you can see, we have a lot of little small ones, but then the two big ones are the one that says CRRSA ESSER 2, K-12 Emergency Relief Fund, is $66.3 million, and then the other big one is K-12 Emergency Fund, ESSER 3, 147. Those are the two big ones that we always talk about, because the other ones are related to individual programs. These are the big buckets that we have that we can do whatever. So that's the $291.5 million. The next is capital outlay, is $145.6 million, and that's broken down between the county appropriation and in our bond proceeds. The next section is other and restricted funds, and that's $26.4 million, and the breakdown is we have some state grants that are not coming through DPI of about $1.6 million. We have also some federal grants that don't flow through DPI that are direct federal of $5.8. We have other local revenues of about $11.3 million, which includes things like indirect cost, Medicaid, stuff like that. And then we have the fund balance that we appropriated. So that's a total of $26.4 million. And then child nutrition budget for this year, they're anticipating they will be in the black this year. So there will be no need to appropriate fund balance for them to balance them. And last year they came in way better than we anticipated. And we see that in our audit for last year. This is $27.3 million in total, and the breakdown is the federal reimbursements of 25.7, and then local revenues of 1.6. And that is the total budget.
Yeah, the child nutrition this year, it was universal breakfast and lunch in the district, wasn't it?
I do believe so, yes. Is Lauren? We do have universal free lunch this year.
It's not all the universal
Okay.
service, but yes, everybody gets it.
Okay.
Two different programs.
Okay.
Okay, but everybody gets it.
Yes,
Everybody gets breakfast and everybody gets lunch.
yes, at no cost.
That is wonderful. Thank you.
All right. Are there any other questions about the budget resolution? All right.
Oh, Mr. Bohannon?
Yes. So I had a question about the program, the program from the state, the program that you're talking about.
The ERP program.
Mhm,
Yeah, the new
exactly.
system.
When is the implementation of that supposed to be completed?
Well, our initial timeline was going to be April of 2023. We may push it back a couple months, but here's the rub. It's not an easy thing to do, and it takes up a lot of our staff time to get it done because we're not really having any outside resources come in other than the Tyler people themselves to help us with it. But we're shooting for next summer 2023. Now, I will tell you the other districts have pretty much paused. Like my former district started before I left and they have not implemented yet, and from what I hear, they paused. But it's a very daunting task, but we're hoping that we'll stay on track. Our product may be a little bit simpler than the one that they're using, because they chose a different vendor, but we're hoping to stay on track.
So you mentioned that there was not, you don't really have a whole lot of help kind of coming in. What was that? A few months ago, it was a while ago, there was a firm that we contracted with, and it was supposed to, it was like a firm that was supposed to help with like either the transition or like something.
I mean, but that firm did come in with HR and help with the processes, but that's outside of, it's part of the project, but it's outside of actually doing the work to get the project done, because we literally have to like take all of our data in AS400 and migrate it over to this new system and have it work in their way, which is not necessarily easy because our system is AS400, so.
Right, okay.
But we're working, I mean, we're working on it. I think we're on track right now. We're currently on track, so knock on wood.
Okay, thank you.
So I believe we just have one action item. Is there a motion to approve this? Second?
Second.
All those in favor? Any opposed? Okay, passed.
Thank you.
And the only announcement is that the next meeting is Tuesday, March 22nd at 5:00 PM.
Thank you. Thank you, Board Member Mott Singer. I would like to call the meeting to order. May I have a motion to go into closed session to discuss a personnel matter?
So moved.
Second.
Second, okay. All in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on your school channel, Cable 2.